Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and this is my card for this week's Color Throwdown Challenge, which I will have linked on my blog, which will be linked directly below the video. So to start off with, I have some Canson XL watercolor paper that I cut down to fit within my Misty, or my mini Misty, so it's at like 4 3/4 by about 6 inches. And I'm using stamps from the My Favorite Things, your Rawr-some stamp set and the Coordinating Die-namics. I have a separate quick tip video how I show in a little more detail how I line up stamps and their coordinating dies, which it's basically what I showed just here. Really simple, just lined up all of the stamps with the coordinating die sets. This works awesome with MFT's sets because they keep all their dies. They don't nest the smaller images inside the larger ones, so I can do this without having to cut my dies apart. And then using the Misty just means I can stamp all the images at once, which was perfect because, as usual, I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I have a vague idea of what I'm doing, but I wasn't sure, so I wanted to stamp all the images and just see where that took me. So I stamped them all with Science Stamp Intense Black ink, and like I said, I used Canson XL watercolor paper. And this time I thought I'd pull out my Peerless watercolors because I haven't used these in a while, and I just like to jump around and, you know, use whatever floats my boat at the time. So today it was these. And every time I use them, I forget how much I like them and how easy they are to use. So I do have separate videos on my channel as well explaining how I've organized these, how I've cut down the papers. All you have to do, like the watercolor itself is on these papers. I have that in other videos on my channel, so just check those out if you're not familiar with these. But I'm just picking up the color with my water brush and applying it to the watercolor paper. Simple as that. I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm not blending any colors. I'm not really doing anything. Like, it's that simple. Like, I just pick up the color and then I just pull it out, and when I run out of color in my little water brush, I pick up a little bit more. Like, nothing fancy, really, really easy. And the colors are always so vibrant with these. And as it dries a little bit, I go back in and add a little bit of a definition with that exact same color. And I just went from there. So I'm using colors from the Color Throwdown Challenge, which is this week, it's a green, a blue, and a yellow. So I did the one dinosaur as a blue, the other one yellow, and then I'm doing my little Tyrannosaurus Rex here in a green. And yeah, just picking up the color with my water brush, and then between colors, or if the color was a little too saturated here and there, I'm just wiping it off. These are just blue chucks that I got from a supplier. You can get them from Amazon. I've been linking to them lately now because people have been asking, but these are really awesome when watercoloring. They actually have a plastic backing. It's the same stuff that, you know, the dentists use when you go to a dentist and they clip that thing around your neck when they're working on you. That's what these are. They have that little plastic backing so it doesn't soak through, and I just use the same one until it's completely messed up, and then I chuck it. So, anywho, did all my watercoloring. Really, really easy, really fun. And once it was all done, I let that sit and dry for a few minutes. Once it was fully dry, I'm going to run this through my Big Shot with that coordinating set of dies. So I've got my magnetic platform underneath the cutting plate. So that's kind of holding the dies in place. Otherwise, I usually will also tape them in place just to keep them from shifting at all. This time it didn't seem to want to be difficult. So I ran those through, and then I die cut a piece of MFT's Blue Breeze cardstock with one of the Stitch hexagon dies, and then decided to die cut a bunch of clouds as well because I thought I'd create a little scene with all of my stamped images. So I was kind of fiddling here just on my craft sheet or on my craft mat with kind of what I wanted to do for a layout, because like I said, I had no real plan in place. So I kind of got a layout going and kind of decided what I'm going to use on the outside of my card, what I'm going to use on the inside of the card. And then I grabbed a couple sentiments from that same stamp set and pushed everything aside here, and then just grabbed a scrap of black cardstock that I treated with my anti-static powder tool. And I'm going to ink up these sentiments and stamp them with Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink. And then I'm going to emboss both sentiments with detail white embossing powder. So once I've got both sentiments stamped and embossed, I used my paper trimmer to trim them down into just strips. And then I used the paper trimmer again to trim off each end. So I've got those done. I've got 1 sentiment for the outside, 1 sentiment for the inside, and then I can go on to like actually finishing this card. So I've got heavyweight white cardstock as my card base, which was cut to 4 1/4 by 11. And then I scored it at 5.5 inches with my Teflon bone folder. So this will be a top folding A2 size card. So 4 1/4 by 5.5. And then fiddled around again, kind of creating my scene on the actual card itself. And then for my sentiments, I decided to cut little flag ends on each of them. So you just cut a notch down the middle, and then you meet each notch with each corner with your scissors, and it just works. So I've done hundreds of these now. When I first started doing this, when I'd see other people doing that, I was like, there's no way these are going to look even. But I have yet to, you know, I know sometimes they're not perfectly even, but you can't tell. So did that with the first one for the front of the card. And then I started actually adhering everything for my scenes. So I was using a combination of my ATG adhesive, Tombow Monomulti. I just kind of reach for whatever. I get asked a lot like why I use certain adhesives over another. Honestly, it's just whatever works. You know, I usually use the ATG for larger pieces and then the Monomulti for smaller areas like the little tree and the clouds and whatnot. And then for this one dinosaur, I let the tail hang off. I could have left it, if you wanted to use like a larger envelope, you could leave the tail just kind of hanging off the card. That would look fine. But for a standard A2 envelope, I just trimmed off his tail. And then I decided to pop up that one little tuft of grass and then the Tyrannosaurus Rex with some foam adhesive just to give it a little more dimension. And then I had changed my mind here on the sentiment, so I ended up cutting off that one end so I could kind of tuck it behind the Tyrannosaurus Rex. And then I added my ATG adhesive, and then I did a little bit of fiddling to tuck it behind both dinosaurs there so it just kind of fit properly. So got that into place, and then decided to add a second little tuft of grass just behind the Tyrannosaurus Rex. And that finished off the outside of the card. So then to finish off the inside of the card, that's where I kept that third little dinosaur. And then I trimmed down the little ends on each end of this sentiment here. And decided to adhere that and adhere the little dinosaur over it. And then adhere the tuft of grass over his foot because I had actually smeared the ink kind of over his foot there. So it kind of had that so that nobody can see it, but I just pointed it out. So that's why I adhered that little tuft of grass over it because it was bugging me the entire time. So I adhered that to hide it. And then I had that one remaining little greenery piece. So I adhered that, and that finished off my card. So I will have a link below the video to my blog post, which will have a link to the color challenge if you want to check that out, the pictures of the card, as well as links to all the supplies used. So check out the description box below the video if you're interested in any of that. And thank you all so much for watching and subscribing, thumbs upping, and commenting on my videos. I really, really appreciate the support, and I will see you guys very soon in the next video. Bye!